Okay, so while chemicals that bind reversibly to the acetylcholine esterase degradative enzyme for acetylcholine, remember AIC, which grabs onto the acetylcholine and breaks it apart. If you have a reversible inhibitor, it's going to bind to the acetylcholine esterase, change its shape, so now it cannot break down acetylcholine, and then it's reversible, right? So it'll leave, and then this will go back, and now can break acetylcholine up again. These are used therapeutically, right, clinically, for dementia because of the degeneration of basal forebrain, cholinergic projections into hippocampus and other parts of the cortex that seem to underlie or contribute to the memory losses and other cognitive losses with dementia. However, there are other chemicals that don't bind reversibly, but bind to acetylcholine esterase irreversibly. So they bind to it, change its shape, take it out of commission so it cannot break down any more acetylcholine. And they don't let go. They stay on. And these are what there's a group of these that are actually considered to be nerve gases. One famous or infamous one known as sarin gas, which was used in a subway attack in Tokyo in the 20th century. And these are dangerous chemicals that can take your acetylcholine esterase basically out of commission. And what happens then, of course, is that you get this tremendous buildup, right, of acetylcholine in the cleft, and you get overstimulation of those postsynaptic, nicotinic cholinergic receptors that are localized on muscle. So you overstimulate those nicotinic receptors, and they desensitize. They shift, remember, into that form where they are no longer responsive to acetylcholine, and that can lead to paralysis, and then lack of an ability to move the diaphragm, and then asphyxiation and death. So these are very deadly chemicals like sarin gas, etc. So it's interesting that they're sort of related to the therapeutically prescribed drugs for Alzheimer's and dementia, but they bind irreversibly as opposed to reversibly. There's another class of toxins. Some pesticides act a bit like sarin gas, also like nerve gases on insects, and prevent them from moving their muscles. There's a newer class of chemicals that are that's been banned now in many more progressive and sort of evidence-based science societies, like in the EU, for example, that are called neonicotinoids. And from that you can see neo is new, right? Nicotinoids, nicotine. These are chemicals that bind to interact with the nicotinic cholinergic receptors postsynaptically in the periphery at the muscle, at the neuromuscular junction. And they initially apparently allow for a huge blast of depolarization, and then they force a desensitization of those receptors as well. So these neonicotinoids will actually shut down the nicotinic cholinergic receptors and make the muscles no longer listen to the released acetylcholine. So they can be very dangerous as well. And you may have heard they're decimating insect populations, and including beneficial insects like honeybees. So these are still sold in the United States in many places because science doesn't always properly inform policy. But these are also chemicals that are acting via the cholinergic system.